Hey there, everybody. Pete here, and I want to talk a little bit today about the Nintendo 64 as we get ready to celebrate the 20th anniversary of its launch here in the United States on September 29th. It was released in 1996 on September 29th, and I happened to be lucky in that I walked into a Lechmere Home Image store in Springfield, Massachusetts, and found one console left. Of course, I snagged it along with Super Mario 64, Pilot Wing 64 in a controller pack, and I brought it home. Interestingly enough, I wasn't even going to get the system after playing Super Mario 64 during the summer. I really wasn't that impressed with it. Although, to be honest, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was very happy with my PlayStation at the time. Mario just felt like Mario, and I didn't think that I needed it. As it turns out, though, I was going through a very difficult time in my life in late September and into October, and Mario played a big role in helping me keep my head on straight. For a little bit of background, I want to talk about a very special person who is my paternal grandmother, Marie. Marie was, for me, a guardian angel for much of my life, especially through my childhood and teenage years. When I was growing up, especially after my mom and dad split when I was 6 or 7 years old, his mom, my paternal grandmother, often looked out for me to make sure that I had everything that I needed and a lot of things that I wanted. My mom, struggling as a single parent with 3 children, didn't always have the money to provide things that all of us wanted. And so my grandmother, kind of like a fairy godmother, if you will, rode to the rescue a lot of the time. It was especially a big deal in high school when you're being judged on how you look and the kind of clothes you wear and the kind of shoes you wear. My mom could never afford or have afforded the kind of clothes that I needed to not be completely laughed off of school grounds. And my paternal grandmother always found a way to jump in and make sure that I had what I wanted. She came through again in the later part of 1993. I had been working for AT&T as a long-distance operator, having moved out to Worcester, Massachusetts to do so, living with roommates. Unfortunately, the building that we all worked at was closing. All of our jobs were being relocated, and I was not offered an opportunity to move along with everybody, so because I was a temporary employee. So when I lost the job and I wasn't able to find anything else in Worcester, my grandmother pretty much ordered me to come live with her for companionship. She always made it a big, not about me, but about what she needed. She didn't want to live alone, so please come back home and live with me, and then while you're here, you can try and get back on your feet. So of course I did, and we had a blast together. We went out to play bingo together once a week. We would always watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy on TV every night. We watched golf on TV during the weekends. We went to the mall together. We talked about news and current events and sports together. And with the exception of my dating life, which she was always a little bit restrictive of because of the mistakes my dad had made, we got along better than any 70-something and 20-something ever should. But in 1996, especially as the summer rolled on, she had been losing her battle with cancer pretty badly. And by September, she was relocated out of the house to live with her daughter in hospice care, which was like a kick in the gut, because my grandmother, who had always been that smiling, generous, kind, happy person, seeing her waste away to nothing as cancer was doing its thing, was something I still have trouble with just imagining it to this day. So by September of 96, especially when the Nintendo 64 had come out, I was trying to keep myself busy in any way possible. I was taking extra shifts at work. I was going to arcades. I was going to karaoke just about every night just so I wouldn't be home alone thinking about the fact that I was going to be alone, that she was going to die. So it just so happened on the night of the 29th, I was out driving around in Springfield, Mass, and stopped at this place called Lechmere Home Image. Now, Lechmere used to be a electronics store, and they did used to sell video games there, though not a lot of them at the Home Image store. But I just lucked out and stumbled upon the last video game console, the last Nintendo 64 console that they had. So thinking it was fate and not thinking about whether I was going to play it or not, I snagged it. I'm like, all right, this is here because I need to buy it. So I put it all on my Lechmere charge card. I got the system. I got Super Mario 64 here. I got Pilot Wings 64 controller pack, and I went home and I set it up, and I didn't play it. I had just set it up, and then I went to bed. And then life was just kind of going on like it always was. Working a lot, going out to sing a lot, playing a few games at home here and there, spending a lot of time at arcades. Until about 2 weeks after the 64 had come out, I got the phone call that I knew I was going to get, which was that my grandmother had passed away. And so my life became busy in a different way, arranging memorial services and going to the calling hours and the wake and the funeral and carrying the casket and dealing with who was going to get what and who was going to be living where, and it was all just a big mess. Very exhausting, and really didn't give me time to grieve, but more fear of the unknown. Fear of what was going to happen next. Was I going to have to move out? Was I going to have to find another place to stay right away? There are just so many questions. So when the dust cleared and when the funeral had ended, I took a few extra days off from work, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't answer phone calls. I didn't have friends over. I just wanted time to myself. And I looked at the living room TV, and there next to the PlayStation was the Nintendo 64 with Super Mario in it. And so I figured that I would give it a go, because Mario, to me, always was synonymous with happiness. A lot of memories going back to 1985 when I first saw Super Mario Brothers being played at a roller skating rink. Mario just always symbolized to me good things, happy things, and that's what I needed in my life at that time. So I played the game, and it helped me get through the grieving process better than I think anything else could have. The bright colors in the game made me feel better rather than just everything all black and hanging out in the dark. The different kinds of music that Koji Kondo composed brought me through the gamut of emotions. I remember the first time I heard Dire Dire Docks, I cried. I still, whenever I hear it, it always reminds me of just sitting alone in that living room and finally just releasing all of this pent-up sadness and loneliness that I had felt, and I cried for at least 20 minutes just by myself, just letting everything out. And as I played the game, it wasn't about beating the game or finding all of the stars or unlocking all of the secrets, but it was just about transporting myself to somewhere that wasn't the sad place that I was in at that time. And having that release, having that escape, helped to kind of build me back up, helped give me the time I needed to get my strength back to where I could get out and face the rest of the world. And that's why I will always consider the Nintendo 64 to be a special system, even if it's not my favorite, because Super Mario 64, because of games like Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey or NBA Hang Time or even Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, which came out only a few months after, these games gave me something else to focus on other than being lonely and unsure of how things were going to go. And of course, as life always does, things did gradually improve. After having to move out of my grandmother's house, I moved back in with my mom. And then it wasn't too long after that I wound up meeting my future wife and eventually getting back on my feet and getting an apartment of my own with her. So I got through it, but the Nintendo 64 played a very important role in that. And then, you know, in later years, I'll remember the Nintendo 64 as being a happy console. When I worked for FuncoLand in 1998 and 1999, I remember being sold on F-Zero X when I played it there. I remember selling a ton of gold Legend of Zelda cartridges and even giving mine up to a customer because we didn't have enough to fill pre-orders. I remember being wowed by Star Wars Rogue Squadron and how great it looked. I remember laughing my ass off at South Park and those silly turkey noises. The Nintendo 64 is more than just the games for me. It's about the memories, and it's about my life and the parallels between the two at the time. And that's why it will always hold a special place right here in my heart. So thanks, Nintendo, for everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a 64, make sure you hook it up this week or over the next couple of weeks and play some Mario 64 or some other games. And I'd love to hear your memories on the system in the comments below if you so choose. Thanks as always for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.